prepare for the birth, and then all of a sudden you're like, what? Now I have to keep this thing alive. Hey everyone, my name's Sarah Lavonne, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this core values series, I am giving you my top tips as you prepare for your labor and birth and ultimately your parenting. And so I am drawing from my experience as a labor and delivery nurse, childbirth educator, lactation educator, counselor, birth coach, nurse trainer, professional speaker, all the things in birth, kind of birth guru, birth obsessed person, and over 5,000 births that I've been a part of to help give you the knowledge that you need to help you have a more positive birth and postpartum experience, because this tip right here is one of those that I feel like is the bookend to all of the tips that I'm going to give you. And I'm not done giving you tips, but I wanted to get here first so that you don't forget and you have this information, because my next core value, most important tip that I can give you, and they're all equally important, so like not one over the other, but working together are like the perfect package that has shaped how I've taught the bundle birth class, which you can find down below. It's on our website. You can take that as your core class. And so that core tip here is that postpartum preparation is just as important as birth prep. So often when you get pregnant, what do you think about first of all, getting pregnant, feeling pregnant, growing a healthy pregnancy, and then all of a sudden there's this piece in your brain where you're like, oh no, I have to birth this thing. Like there's sort of ignorance is bliss up until a certain point. That's usually when you find me, when you take my birth class, all of that. And so birth prep is important. That is what I've dedicated my life to. I love talking about labor and birth. That is absolutely my specialty and so important. Your birth experience is a a time marker on your timeline of your entire life that will shape you forever. I say that all the time, okay? But postpartum, which let me define quickly, is the period after you give birth, right? When your body is recovering. And typically, depending on the definition, it was originally about 6 weeks after birth. That was pushed out to a year. And now some publications are talking about 2 years after you give birth is the recovery period for your body to go back to its like pre-pregnant hormonal self. Okay. And so what I'm really talking about when I say postpartum preparation is just as important as birth prep is that period right after, the period that you're off work, the period that you're learning, the period that you're not quite in your rhythm and routine. And again, it can go as long and you can define that however you want. But so often you prepare for the birth and then all of a sudden you're like, what? Now I have to keep this thing alive, right? And you haven't even thought about the fact that you now have this new human being that's a part of your life forever that you have to parent, that you have to keep alive, that you have to feed, that you have to provide for, okay? And so I'm here today to tell you that birth is just the beginning. And so how you recover, how you adjust to postpartum, and how you set yourself up for that postpartum experience, it also matters, okay? Often I hear, especially the ones that do my class, they're like, I was so ready for birth, and then I got slapped in the face with postpartum. Like, no one tells you about postpartum. No one preps you for postpartum, okay? And by postpartum, I also mean not only your recovery, but also breastfeeding or feeding or chest feeding your babies, okay? How your baby eats is like a whole other learning curve. And so I am gonna recommend a breastfeeding class as well. I hope, depending on when you're watching this, I hope to someday have a breastfeeding class available to you. I am a certified lactation educator, counselor, and so I can teach you on all of that. I also hope to have a postpartum class in the future. At this current state, we do not, but of course, go to bundlebirth.com in the show notes down below and you can check out and see if that's been added to the curriculums, because this to me is so incredibly important. Now, I do have a recommendation of the afterbirth plan class that I actually helped put together the curriculum for. It's taught by Alyssa Berlin. I will link that down below for other types of things to consider. Now, you can take a class, you can read some books, you can prep in other ways, but I really want to set you up for having the right support. So you need to be thinking about a few things about the postpartum period, which I teach you all of this, what you need to be thinking about and how to prep in the bundle birth class. But be thinking about what's your plan for sleep? What's your plan for feeding? What's your plan for breastfeeding? Breastfeeding is like your second labor, okay? It's like the hardest thing you ever do until it becomes the easiest thing you ever do. And so you need a team. Does your pediatrician's office have a team? Who is your pediatrician? How often are you gonna see them? How far away are they, right? What's your plan for postpartum recovery? What's your plan for maternity leave? How long can you be off work? Who's gonna support you there? How are you gonna eat? How are you going to sleep? Okay, all of these things that postpartum adjustment can be really challenging for people. It can feel like a slap in the face of like, whoa, I wasn't ready. And so I'm here to tell you to get ready. There's other YouTube videos here. There's other resources I will link down below to help you get ready and consider some of these things. Now, in the bundle birth class, it's going to include some really realistic postpartum education related to your recovery. It includes stuff on your physical healing, your emotional transitions, all of the PMADs or perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, and what you need to prepare for emotionally with that transition, and then how to set yourself up for that, having that support so that you can be equipped beyond birth into the postpartum period, so that it's not only my birth was the happiest day of my life, but I love being a parent. So often families feel like they lost themselves when they gave birth. Or I remember, in fact, I got my hair done recently and my hairdresser has just had a baby and she was like, I don't even remember that girl. That girl's long gone. And I want us to begin to reframe how we think about our identity as a parent. And so you have a choice of this. This is something you can pick up and you can control, and you get to decide how you define your identity as a parent. And how I'm going to suggest, or one option for you, is that you are you, and that you will always be there. Okay, protect that you. And when you get pregnant, when you become a parent in the postpartum period, it can feel like that you is nowhere to be found. I promise you, they're still in there, right? And all you're doing, what we're doing is we're layering this layer on top of the you that may be covering what it used to look like, but that core is still there. You get added to instead of subtracted from. And yes, there's some loss. Yes, there's lots of transition. They say that having a baby is the 6th most stressful thing that can ever happen in your life. So you kind of want to prepare for it, right? But ultimately you get to frame how you see it. And when you have the right support, you have the right education, you have those answers to all the many questions that you will have, and you learn to flex and flow, you use your mindset tools, you own your experience. Sound familiar, right? And you lean on your support teams, you will also not only have that positive birth, but also that postpartum experience. I want to know your top tip that you would give postpartum families, people that have not had babies yet, in the comments down below. Now, if you've had your baby, I invite you to tell us about it and add your baby to our wall of babies, which I will also link down below, where you can share your experience and share your photos. It's in a safe and closed, password protected environment, so we actually have to know who you are in order to get in there, and you can share as much or as little as you want. But if you are a bundle birth baby and you've gotten to the postpartum period, we want to celebrate you on our wall of babies over at bundlebirth.com. It's totally free. Share and learn, and then click through and see the bundle birth community, what works for them. Share your wisdom with each other. You can also do that in the comment box down below. Make sure you subscribe. There is so much more coming. Even if you've given birth, no worries. There's so much more coming for you, and so much of what I teach is also, as I hope you're starting to get the feel, is also for your life. And until next time, of course, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you so soon. Bye. But so often you prepare. Bye. See ya.